The American Association of University Women is a nationwide network of more than 100,000 members and 500 college and university partners. AAUW advances equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, philanthropy, and research. This film focuses on the issues raised by AAUW's 2011 research report titled Crossing the Line: Sexual Harassment at School. The report is the first of one in 10 years to include nationally representative data about sexual harassment in grades 7 through 12. The film was written, produced, and directed by the AAUW student group at Jefferson Community College in Watertown, New York, and filmed by WPBS. It was funded by a Campus Action Project grant from the American Association of University Women.
What is Title IX?
Title IX, officially known as the Educational Amendments of 1972, was the first comprehensive law to prohibit sex discrimination in educational institutions. Officially, the law says no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Over the last 40 years, that particular sentence has had a profound effect on education.
So who's covered under Title IX?
All students are covered under Title IX, males and females from pre-kindergarten all the way up through college, and it involves or includes all students and all schools that receive federal financial assistance.
Okay, so how does Title IX relate to sexual harassment?
Sexual harassment is one piece of Title IX. Title IX actually covers 10 different areas, from academics and access through career exploration and technology. Sexual harassment and bullying is one piece. Recently, the Office for Civil Rights, which is actually the organization in the Department of Education that oversees Title IX, clarified its rules and clarified its ideas on what schools and colleges should do for Title IX.
What should students and parents and schools know about Title IX?
There are basically three things parents, schools, and students should know about Title IX. First of all, they should know that their school is required to have a non-discrimination notice. That discrimination notice should discuss prohibition of discrimination on the basis of sex, gender, ethnicity, religion, and a number of other areas. Secondly, they should know that their school is required and should have in place a Title IX coordinator, commonly called an affirmative action coordinator on a number of schools. That particular coordinator is responsible for overseeing everything that has to do with Title IX. They would be responsible for investigating any complaints under Title IX. They would be responsible for making sure the school follows the Title IX regulations, and they would be responsible for providing training to employees and students related to Title IX. The third thing that students, parents, and schools should know is that their school is required to have a set of grievance procedures, a process, should somebody have a Title IX complaint against another employee or against a student in the school.
Does your school have a sexual harassment policy?
Yes, we do. Our school does have a sexual harassment policy, and it's outlined clearly in our student handbook that all students are required to read, and they actually go over that at the beginning of the school year. So it's clearly outlined with different examples, but it certainly isn't exhaustive of what a student could see as sexual harassment or perceive sexual harassment. So we do have a nice policy at our school, and I believe most schools do.
How do you respond to a sexual harassment incident?
Well, I think we take every sexual harassment incident very seriously. Whether or not it's real or perceived isn't for me to decide, but it really involves a investigation of the parties that are involved. And so thorough questioning takes place of the incident and the perpetrator, and try to get to the bottom to meet a resolution for those students.
What happens to the victim and the perpetrator?
Well, the victim is really empowered because a lot of times it takes a victim a great deal of strength to come and talk to an adult about what's been going on. And so we really want to empower that victim right down to, are you comfortable speaking with me, or do you want to speak with someone else, depending on the nature of the incident? And so we try to set up a system where the student feels comfortable, be it a student or an adult, because sometimes it could be an adult. That person needs to feel comfortable to tell his or her story about what is going on. And so we start the entire process right there to make sure that that person is comfortable and address the situation as it is. Many times with young adults, they're discovering and trying out new and different things, and what is appropriate in one setting may not be appropriate in another setting, dependent on who is hearing. But if there's a perceived threat or harassment in the sexual nature, we want to address that so that we can make the adjustments and reach a resolution for those students so it doesn't continue on.
Have you ever suspended anyone for sexual harassment?
Not to my recollection directly. We haven't suspended anyone directly for that. It's hard for us to know a lot of times because our suspensions would be based on somebody reaching a physical altercation. And with the genesis of so much technology, it's difficult to say if the foundation is really that of a sexual nature, because between Facebook and MySpace and texting and sexting and the internet, it's hard to know what the cause of an incident is sometimes, because many times something will take place outside of school and it's brought into school, and that's the difficult part for educators is that we're educators to teach, and if something's going on outside of school and it's interrupting the school avenue and education, we've got to address it and figure out what's going on. But many times if a suspension evolves, we're not sure of the cause. So it may or may not be related to sexual harassment. So it's a tough one to say.
How do you guys respond to a sexual harasser?
What I do is I go tell a teacher or a parent.
I tell my friends because I know they'd stick up for me, but if it got any worse, I'd tell a teacher.
I would tell my mom because she's like my best friend and she would listen.
How do you respond to someone that's being harassed, like your friend's being harassed and you see it?
I would stand up for them, and if they wanted me to, I would go get a teacher or a parent.
I definitely go stick up for them, and if they wanted me to, I'd tell a teacher or a parent because I don't know if they'd want to.
I would definitely get a teacher because it just has to stop.
How would you respond if you got sexually harassed through a text message or on Facebook?
I would not delete it. I would show it to a parent or a teacher I trust a lot, so that I have proof, so they know I'm not lying, and that it can be stopped.
I wouldn't delete it. I wouldn't show my parents because they'd flip out, but I'd show a teacher and keep it so they'd have proof just in case you need proof.
I would not try and delete it out of my life and just get rid of it. I would tell my mom because she would take it to the next step if she had to.
How do you think your parents would respond?
I think my mom and dad would be kind of calm about it. If it got too bad, then they would go down to the school, but if it was just small things, they wouldn't.
Well, my parents would get really mad, and if they'd take away my phone, and they'd go to the school, and it'd be really embarrassing.
My mom would definitely react very calmly because she knows I would really get angry if she didn't.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Schools that do not have a sexual harassment policy must create one, and all schools should make sure that the policy is publicized and enforced. Schools must ensure that students are aware of and educated about what sexual harassment is, what their rights are under Title IX, and how to respond if they experience or witness sexual harassment. Schools must train their staff and faculty to recognize and respond to sexual harassment, to know how to help students who come to them, and to know their obligations if they witness sexual harassment. Schools must work to create a culture of respect and gender equality. Schools must teach all students that sexual harassment is not funny. Schools must create a culture of acceptance and tolerance for all, without regard to gender presentation and sexual orientation, and must reinforce that culture by the attitudes, words, and actions of school officials, faculty, and staff. Schools must recognize and address how the intersections of race, class, gender, and sexual orientation can cause some students to fare worse than others when they experience sexual harassment. Schools must teach students about cyber harassment, what their rights are, and how to respond to or report instances.
Sexual harassment is a form of bullying. Do you think it's a worse form or a more serious form?
I think sexual harassment is a worse form of bullying because it attacks something you can't control, like your sexuality or your body.
I think it's both serious and hurtful at the same time.
Like, I think it gets into the fact that it's your personal life. It's more private than anything.
A lot of professionals in your community and our community are trying to affect the issue of sexual harassment. What if we made you the boss of it? What if we made you the boss of fixing the problem? How would you go about doing that?
If I was the boss of fixing the problem, I would enforce the consequences and show people that it's not right what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that people don't take the consequences of sexual harassment seriously? Or?
I don't think people take it seriously because nobody has ever said anything about it or enforced consequences on them for their actions.
I don't think that people really know that it's a law not to sexual harass people, so they don't really know. They don't know that what sexual harassment is when it gets into when people asking you to do certain things that you don't want to do. Yeah.
So people aren't aware of the laws, the consequences, and people, you feel like the consequences aren't imposed as well, that they don't happen.
Yes, they don't happen.
People don't take them seriously.
People don't take them seriously because they think it's a big joke, that what they're doing is just supposed to be funny, that people are supposed to deal with it.
What most people don't know is that it is not funny because
it's hurtful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
it's like they point out your insecurities, stuff that you can't do anything about, like you were born the way you are.
What do you guys want? You're young.
We just want to be young.
We have the right to make our own choices, feel good about ourselves, and remain healthy.
We have the right to live our teenage years in peace. We just want to be young.
This film was made possible with funding from a Campus Action Project grant through the American Association of University Women and utilized research conducted by AAUW and published in a booklet titled Crossing the Line, Sexual Harassment in Grades 7 through 12.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. And may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young.